Imagine that one day you could find yourself confessing to a crime you didn't commit. Sounds impossible, right? Yet it happens with alarming frequency, and understanding why could save your freedom. In America's criminal justice system, a startling reality exists that few understand until it's too late. According to the Innocence Project, false confessions contributed to 29% of wrongful convictions later overturned by DNA evidence. The psychological pressure of police interrogations can be so intense that innocent people confess to crimes they never committed. Think about that for a moment. Nearly 1/3 of proven wrongful convictions involved someone falsely confessing. But why would anyone admit to something they didn't do? The answer lies in understanding the sophisticated psychological tactics used in modern police interrogations and how our minds can betray us under pressure. The Reed technique, a system designed to extract confessions. For more than half a century, the Reed technique has been the dominant police interrogation method used to get confessions from suspects. Its familiar elements, the claustrophobic room, repeated accusations of guilt, presentation of evidence, real or invented, and the gradual building of pressure are designed to make confessing seem like the easiest way out. The Reed technique gained popularity in the 1970s and has been widely utilized by police departments across the United States. Its proponents claim it's useful for extracting information from unwilling suspects, while critics argue it results in an unacceptably high rate of false confessions, especially from juveniles and people with mental impairments. Here's how the system typically works. Phase 1: Isolation and control. The interrogation begins by placing you in a small, bare room. This isn't accidental. It's designed to make you feel isolated, uncomfortable, and under the complete control of your interrogators. They may keep you waiting, further heightening your anxiety before questioning begins. Phase 2: Accusations and denial. Once the interrogation starts, investigators operate under the assumption of your guilt. As the Reed technique manual explicitly states, these 9 steps are presented in the context of the interrogation of suspects whose guilt seems definite or reasonably certain. This isn't a conversation, it's a carefully orchestrated psychological pressure campaign. The investigator will confidently assert your guilt, brushing aside any denials. Phase 3: Breaking down resistance. When you deny involvement, investigators are trained to interrupt these denials, wear you down, and redirect the conversation. The technique's developers believe that a guilty person usually will cease to voice a denial, or else the denials will become weaker, and he will submit to the investigator's return to a theme. What they don't acknowledge is that this same pattern occurs in false confessions. Innocent people eventually give up denying when they see it's not working. Phase 4: Overcoming objections. Any logical explanations you offer are treated as further resistance to be overcome. The interrogator will minimize your objections while continuing to assert your guilt. Phase 5: The alternative question. As your resistance weakens, police may present 2 scenarios of your guilt, usually one that sounds like a terrible, premeditated act, and another that seems more understandable or forgivable. They're not offering you a real choice. Both options assume your guilt. They just want you to choose the better explanation, which still amounts to a confession, and will ultimately have no impact on your future sentence once you're found guilty. It's hard to imagine why an innocent person would confess to a crime they didn't commit, but research shows that false confessions occur due to various factors. Law enforcement's use of psychological tactics, increased stress, mental exhaustion, promises of lenient sentences, or difficulties understanding constitutional rights. Several key factors contribute to false confessions. 1. Sleep deprivation and exhaustion. Long periods of isolation in a small interrogation room and sleep deprivation are common elements of custodial interrogation that can lead to false confessions. Research shows that on average, people who falsely confessed were interrogated for up to 16 hours before admitting to crimes they didn't commit. When you're exhausted, your brain's ability to make rational decisions deteriorates. Your focus narrows to short-term relief, ending the interrogation, rather than long-term consequences. A false confession's impact on your freedom. 2. Deception. About evidence. Police are legally permitted to lie during interrogations. They can falsely claim they have fingerprints, DNA, video footage, or witness statements that prove your guilt. They might also claim that an alleged accomplice has already confessed and implicated you. When confronted with what seems like overwhelming evidence, many innocent people conclude that no one will believe their innocence, so confessing seems like the only option. Number 3. Minimization and maximization. Interrogators often use a carrot and stick approach. Maximization, exaggerating the seriousness of the charges and potential punishment. Minimization, suggesting that confessing will lead to leniency or understanding. Through these tactics, police try to convince you that denials are pointless and confessing is the only option. They may present themselves as friendly officers who want to help and claim to show some leniency if you confess. Police officers have no authority to offer leniency nor any influence over the district attorney's office. It's merely a psychological tactic akin to the lesser of two evils analogy. Number 4. Vulnerability factors. Young people are especially vulnerable to false confessions because the parts of the brain responsible for future planning, judgment, and decision-making aren't fully developed until a person reaches their mid-20s. Data shows that 34% of exonerees wrongly convicted as children falsely confessed, compared to just 10% of adult exonerees. Other vulnerable groups include individuals with intellectual impairments, psychopathology, or those high in suggestibility, anxiety, and compliance. These populations may be particularly susceptible to interrogation pressure. How to protect yourself. The psychology of resistance. Understanding these tactics is the first step toward protecting yourself. Here's how to survive a police interrogation psychologically. 1. Exercise your right to remain silent. The Miranda warning gives you the right to remain silent. This isn't just legal boilerplate, it's your psychological shield. You cannot be forced to answer questions or provide information that might be used against you. Silence prevents you from getting trapped in the psychological web of an interrogation. It immediately halts the momentum of questioning designed to wear you down. 2. Request an attorney immediately. If you're being questioned by police, ask if you're free to leave. If you're not, invoke your right to an attorney before answering any questions. Police tactics can result in false confessions, and innocent people confess for many reasons: fear, exhaustion, or simply to end the interview and go home. Requesting an attorney creates a psychological buffer between you and the interrogator. It disrupts their ability to isolate and pressure you, immediately changing the power dynamic. 3. Understand your vulnerability. Recognize that anyone, even the most intelligent and strong-willed person, can be vulnerable during an interrogation. Factors like stress, fatigue, fear, and isolation affect everyone's judgment. Acknowledging your vulnerability helps you maintain psychological vigilance against manipulation techniques. 4. Recognize deception tactics. Police officers may lie about evidence, claiming they have proof that doesn't exist. They might also use isolation to increase stress, pair good cop, bad cop roles to manipulate your emotions, or use leading questions to extract incriminating responses. Being aware of these tactics helps maintain critical thinking when you might otherwise be overwhelmed by emotional pressure. 5. Don't try to clear things up. Many innocent people believe they can simply explain the situation and clear their name. This confidence is often exploited in interrogations. Resisting the urge to explain protects you from the interrogator's ability to use your own words, contradictions, or misstatements against you. It's stated directly in the Miranda warning. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The consequences of false confessions. False confessions are particularly devastating because they're extremely difficult to overcome. It's very hard to convince people that someone who confessed is innocent. According to research, exonerations of defendants who falsely confessed are more likely to depend on DNA evidence to overcome the weight of a confession. In many cases, the confession itself becomes the central evidence against the defendant, even outweighing contradictory physical evidence. Fortunately, there's growing recognition of the problems with traditional interrogation techniques. In 2017, Wicklander Zulawski and Associates, one of the biggest police consulting groups in the country, announced it would no longer use the Reed technique, citing academic research showing other interrogation styles to be much less risky. Other countries, especially England, have rejected the Reed technique in favor of methods that work equally well in obtaining confessions, but without the risk of false confessions. Even in the United States, there's growing suspicion of hard interrogation tactics. Some promising reforms include mandatory recording of all interrogations to create a complete, transparent record, limiting interrogation lengths to prevent extreme fatigue, special protections for vulnerable populations like juveniles and those with mental disabilities, banning deception about evidence in some jurisdictions, training police in alternative, less confrontational interviewing methods. The psychology of police interrogations is designed to overcome your resistance through isolation, accusation, deception, and manipulation of hope and fear. Your best psychological defense is knowledge, awareness, and the exercise of your constitutional rights. Remember, invoke your right to remain silent. Request an attorney immediately. Don't try to explain or clear things up. Be aware of deception and manipulation tactics. Understand that anyone can be vulnerable to these techniques. False confessions aren't made by weak people. They're produced by powerful psychological techniques that can overwhelm even the strongest minds. By understanding these dynamics, you protect not just your legal rights, but your psychological freedom as well. If you want to learn more about wrongful convictions and how innocent people can protect themselves from our criminal justice system's flaws, check out our other videos on this channel. Remember to subscribe for more content that could one day save your freedom or someone you love.